Heads. 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 Friends, let's transport ourselves back to a time and place when disease was running rampant and no one could do anything about it. No, I'm not talking about American 2020. I'm talking about Shakespearean times. As you can see, I'm wearing my best Shakespearean garb. For today's movie, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, a movie that came out in 1990, the year I was born. It stars Tim Roth and Gary Oldman as the titular minor characters from Shakespeare's Hamlet, and they suddenly find themselves within the actual play with no recollection as to how they got there or what their purpose is. So indeed, the entire concept of the film is very meta and existential. The characters are literally within the play of Hamlet but on the sidelines. At times they're literally listening in on moments from the play, trying to discern where in the play they are, and at other times they can't even discern which one of the characters they are. The film is directed by Tom Stoppard. It's based on his play, which was originally conceived and performed for the first time nearly a quarter century before the film was made in 1966. It was performed at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, which I'm assuming is the same as this Capital Fringe Festival that I went to in Scotland in 2015. And I remember seeing this movie for the first time when I was 9 or 10. My parents rented it from Blockbuster, remember that place? And I distinctly remember the opening scene or two where Gary Oldman is incessantly flipping the coin and going, heads, 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 and just finding that kind of charming. And I remember pretty much nothing else about the movie other than there was kind of this foreboding atmosphere. And so I finally decided to revisit it, and from what I can discern, I think I enjoyed it a little bit more this time, what with its existential themes about destiny and suspension of disbelief. I want to start by saying Roth and Oldman are just a delight to watch. They're so funny, they're so perfectly cast in these roles. I can't imagine anyone else carrying this film the way that they do. I found myself laughing out loud multiple times during the duration of this movie, and I'm perplexed as to why I never really see either of them bring up these roles in career retrospectives on YouTube of, Gary Oldman goes over his iconic roles. And while the film is certainly over the top and silly at many points, there's still this impending doom lingering over the entire film. And this is one of the only movies I could think of off the top of my head where the characters literally say, as the last line of dialogue, the title of the film, and then it suddenly cuts to credits. Yes, those certainly were some Star Wars. I also thought it was kind of a funny choice, yet really fitting for the opening and closing credit themes to have the Pink Floyd song Seamus play over it, which is literally 12-bar blues progression with just a dog howling over it. And there's a little tiny cameo of the song Echoes, my favorite Pink Floyd song from the same album Metal, about halfway into the film. It's literally just one note. The most common criticism I've seen in reviews of this film is that it's not suited for film. It's better played out in the stage play, and while I can see that as being a criticism for other movies, I've seen it work with movies that were adapted from stage plays, such as one that I covered on this channel not too long ago called Suburbia from Richard Linklater. Last week I reviewed a movie called Suburbia, and this week I'm going to be reviewing a movie called Suburbia. So I don't think the fact that it's so dialogue heavy and based on a play is such a problem. I think more the problem, if any, is that it really starts off with a bang with some funny scenes, funny dialogue. Richard Dreyfuss comes in and it's really over the top and funny, and then the next 30-45 minutes, very, very dialogue heavy, very slow moving, pretty much all taking place in one spot, which again isn't too bad, but it's a little slow and it might kind of dull the pacing. But at the same time, I think a lot of the gags work better with the blocking and the editing, and the humor is really heightened by this. Take, for example, there's a scene where they come upon a makeshift tennis court and they decide to play a game of who can pose more questions back and forth first. They used to do this game on Whose Line Is It Anyway every now and then. The timing is so rapid and funny, and the editing really amplifies the absurdity of the moment, but then at the same time, there's a couple of genuinely creepy moments where there's some sort of a transition or characters suddenly disappear, and you can't really get that same effect on the stage as you would in a film. So long as you don't mind a lot of standing around and talking, like if you enjoy Clerks, such as I do, then you'll have a ball with this one. I saw one review online saying that this was the best fan fiction of all time. And so ultimately, I think it's kind of unfair to just label this as a movie that overall doesn't work, which is the impression that I got from most of the reviews. And ultimately, the fact that the movie's been immortalized on film forever will draw in so many more people now. So yeah, this movie was kind of delightful, and I'll say it again. Roth and Oldman are just perfect in this. So funny together. Really fun movie. Actually really kind of delightful. Stayeth sexy.